Alright, welcome everyone to the final of the Norwegian Community Tournament, a small 16-player tournament destined to end before Christmas. So here we go with the final between AR12 and Erikur, both 1700 plus players, caliber players in 1v1. And they'll be competing in the best of 9 with not only random map, but some small upset with the fourth game being Arabia Empire Wars, and should it go to a game 7, we'll be having a death match on Sea Notes as well. Otherwise, it's Civ Draft and yeah, map picks and bans and or loser picks home map. I don't quite remember right now. I have to look into that. And in theory, we could go to 9 games here. So let's have a little chat about the Civs here. I mentioned the players already, but here we are, Erikur with the Franks here. Fantastic Civ these days. It has one of the highest win rates of all. Most likely going to go into scouts into knights here. That's the most common Franks play, but nothing to stop him from going Drush or Man-at-Arms either for some upsets. So looking at Erikur's map here, we have a woodline in the back, which is nice. Side gold, not too bad, will probably be walled out here. Main gold in the front, not ideal, but if you wall a little bit like this, you'd still have a somewhat of a security here. And then berries forward, that's always a nightmare against infantry openings like Drushes or Men-at-Arms, but all in all, deer in the back, pushable as well. And a map that is fairly easily closed here for Erikur. Side, yeah, that's a neutral gold, but yeah, 2 golds on the same side, not ideal having one like on the hill here, but I'm sure they'll be fighting for map control throughout the games anyway. Erikur with 7 on food here. I don't think that's necessarily intentional, but yeah, pushing in the deer, a little bit of idle time there. Of course, nothing significant, no idle TC as far as I can tell. Then on AR12's side, playing in the red here, main gold in the back, fantastic. Side stone as well. We'll probably plug this gap here and use the natural barriers either like this or yeah, something between the woodlands. Again, not the worst. A bit more open than Erikur's side overall, but absolutely doable. Deer in the front, still pushable if needed. Berries in the back, which is fantastic against when you're up against infantry openings that might happen, like a Drush Fast Castle Knights could be an option here for Erikur as well. But we'll see what they end up doing here. But both civs likely to go scouts because they have food and eco bonuses. Tatars, their sheep last longer, or you get 50 extra food per sheep, so that's a fantastic bonus. And once you reach the feudal age, 2 sheep will instantly spawn under a TC. Same in the castle age onwards. When you build a TC, 2 sheep will spawn. Tatars have mobility in the knights, they have camels, and they have cavalier in the imperial age and heavy camel. Stops at that, but then again they are streamlined towards being a cab archer civ, so we might see cab archers at play here at some point in the game, which would be great mobility, admittedly, to raid Erikur's exposed golds here from the hills especially. Tatars have an extra 25% hill bonus as well, so these golds generations are a bit of bad news for Erikur unless he can control them somehow with towers or castles or whatever is needed. Even wall even more extensively out could be an option. Let me just fast forward a little bit now to make sure I have caught up with live between these players, and then we're good to go. It is 3 on wood for AR12, definitely suggesting a scouts opening here. Saving food or saving wood for farms from the extra food for the sheep plays in here as well. You won't necessarily need 4 on wood for whatever your idea might be. AR12 not dropping the second lumber camp upon what will probably be the feudal age click soon. Didn't drop a barracks yet, neither player did, so they are indeed going for the scouts here, most likely. Tatars could even go straight archers or some such, but I feel the mobility of scouts is still nice here. Erikur far from full wall. The newer Arabia map generations aren't that open after all. Uptimes roughly similar, I bet their populations are similar as well. Going for the 21 pop scouts builds here. Could have a look at the scouting as well. Erikur found a woodline, will dodge the TC, we'll see that walls are about to be completed, still potentially open in the north. But this might affect Erikur's investment into scout, and he'd actually be doing AR12 will actually be doing him a favor by full walling here now, because that would mean less of a scout's investment for Frank, so you could get earlier to those farm bonuses in feudal and cast age and invest less into scouts, so you'd have an earlier cast age. You might not even need to full wall at home if the opponent is doing the same thing. Maybe go for some economic local walls instead, but here is indeed the barracks going up in due time for both players here. And not risking any runners. Again, an indication of going scouts here, that they don't want to risk HP on their early scouts or their initial scouts here to have the strongest possible scouts army going into fighting in the feudal age. So feudal age is in for both players. AR12 dropping the stable with 1, but Erikur dropping with 2 villagers here. So thanks for the follow, Nicholas Cage Vampires. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing fine with the King of the North tournament. Looking forward to seeing and maybe casting some of that. So I think that was... yeah. AR12 tasked 2 villagers in the end to complete the stables. I don't know if he suspected that something was going on in the north here, that Erikur is earlier to the production. Probably just a coincidence. But in any case, both players now producing scouts. The downside of Tatars here is that you have less HP on your scouts. You'll be needing to add spears to even out the fights, or use your hill advantage. There are some hills to fall back to, but most players will simply dodge hill fights in that case against Tatars, because they are well aware of the bonuses of the civilization. So obviously you don't want to fight Tatars uphill unless you absolutely have to. So we have 3 versus 2 here now, 2 spears as well. I'm going to see some extended feudal age fighting here for a while, I think, because both players are investing into a couple of spears and some scouts. And looking at the overall here, pretty darn similar eco. AR12 actually with a slightly less idle time, better TC production here, but that's the only thing splitting those guys apart now. Full walling their sides. And looks like Erikur has a slight military lead here. Yeah, 3 vs 3, pretty mirrored compositions here, but then again, it's going to play out so much better for Erikur here with the extra HP, unless AR12 somehow goes to gold and get bloodlines to even that out, or of course adds more spears to even out the odds in the fights here. None of the players will be able to hit their opponent's bases directly, except AR12 if he chooses to run in, but there are too many spears here. I don't think he can risk it. Yeah, needs to back off here and dodges nicely. Doesn't take nearly doesn't take any damage at all. Sends in the spear in the mix of the scouts here. That's hard to target in the middle of the fighting here. So, but looks like Erikur is doing all right after all, and gets a couple of pickoffs there. Now has some spears chasing again. KD, nothing too dissimilar here. It's 6-6 for the time being. AR12 with 1 villager lead is the only difference here. I'm assuming both have loom. Of course they do, after going for the extensive walls here. AR12 actually securing a lot more of his resources here than Erikur does. If you see this, he has 2 golds inside the walls, the main gold in the back, the stone. And then there's this side gold, but that's no hurry. You'd last long with your main gold and side gold anyway. 9-9 the KD now, and population's just 1 villager apart, so I don't know, maybe Erikur lost a villager to something, or it's just a tiny little bit of idle time here. So neither of the players accomplishing much here. AR12 could take the Tatars hill bonus here and maybe, just maybe, win this fight, but it's 5 HP against 21, probably not. Looking at the resource disposition, AR12 is a good spot to reach the cast age sooner here as well. I think he's not gone to gold yet, just went to gold with 3 villagers, but the food situation, that's of course those 2 extra Tatars sheep playing in as well, helps a lot in this disregard in the early feudal ages to have actually 300 bonus food not needing farms. That's pretty amazing. You see Erikur's farm investment in comparison. He actually has less food in the bank, but it still has more farms as well. So that's a bit peculiar to see. But that's of course the Tatars' extra sheep, granting them a little bit of food boost there. 10 KD, one spear still running in for AR12. Maybe just looking. Erikur did +1 attack as well. Okay, yeah, that explains the food difference though. I see. There we go. Yeah, forging is in for Erikur. Dropping the market. AR12 with the stable and blacksmith. Whereas Erikur's second building is the market, maybe to rush up the castle age if needed here. Could be the line of thinking. I mean, you know, you are up against a civilization with some extra free food, so it makes sense that you'll have to risk having to adjust a little bit to catch up. All in all, not too much difference going into cast stage. It's one less villager after all for Erikur, so that's the basically the only difference here. One more kill for Erikur as well, but looking at the eco setups here, let's see what the follow-up is. It's another stable for AR12, probably, or most certainly one for Erikur as well. But uptimes are going to be roughly similar. See both players getting gold mining to make use of their gold miners as well, getting scalebarding armor. What AR12 could do here is mix some camels into the mix, though they are slightly cheaper than the knights and they are the counter unit to knights. So if you have a mix of knights and camels against pure knights, you'd be in a good spot here. Bloodlines on the way for AR12 as well. That's going to even out the HP difference that Franks are granted instantly in the feudal age. 20% more HP on the stable units. But if the other civilization gets bloodlines, it's going to be similar. Preparing for a TC drop, I guess, on the woods and gold here. Yeah, that's it. Second TC. That's going to be 2 for now for AR12. Erikur likely to drop on as well on the main gold on wood here. Looks like similar approach. And AR12 going straight camels here. So it's not going to mix in any knights after all. Just going to, or at least not to begin with here. Did create an opening here. You're probably going to see a palisade gate here to plug this gap. And now chasing the scout, revealing the camel switch though, but that's probably not a big surprise to Erikur anyway, so might as well just show them. Have some spears poking away here as well, so that means once a knight pops out here, if Erikur gets unlucky here and has the knights and scout popping out on the wrong side, could be some unfortunate losses here. 3 TCs for Erikur, AR12 committing to 2 only for now, so that's going to give Erikur the village a lead, but that's also going to potentially impair the army production capabilities at this stage of the game. Second defense incoming for Erikur, going to make his own knights more resistant towards the camels, although camels still counter them. But right now I feel like AR12 is dealing some good pressure here against the Franks player. So when AR12 is taking map control like this, he has the hills to fall back to, so he can always try and force fights downhill so that he will get his extra 25% hill damage. And he breaks to the palisade gate, could now stop the woman here from repairing. The downside being that the camels are vulnerable to arrow fire. They have lower pierce armor than knights, but sticks in the choke here for a little bit and has double stable production consistent here. Villager numbers dead even here. Is AR12 on the third TC? There it is, that's the third one. I think he's making use of those free sheep as well, but right now Erikur has the military advantage here, at least in terms of numbers, but he has to fight camels obviously. With that extra Extra armor helps a lot here in this regard. So that's 13 to 12. It's pure knights versus pure camels here. I think Erikur at some point will have to consider adding some monks or adding some pikes here just to be able to deal with the camels at all. I don't really see that transition. TCs help, of course. You can't really go raid with camels because they have low pierce armor. If you garrison the TCs, they will fall like flies. Trying for a break in here, but the AR12 is on point, forcing some quick walls here with houses, commits a few more villagers as well. I don't think the knights will break in here this time around. And here come the knights to chase, and there's a hill here, so Erikur has to back off ASAP here to not risk running into camels uphill here. So that's a good reaction there, though. Probably knew that camels might come his way. AR12 is still missing that +2, though, not stressing that one, and Erikur meanwhile is going into pikemen here, so the camels won't really be enough to deal damage here. Here comes the University and Ranges, so I think AR12 is preparing both for the Imperial H-Click and the Castle H, or the Cavalry switch here. Adding monks as well, going to snag some relics and maybe heal up some of his camel units. KD pretty similar, villager numbers similar as well. Even though AR12 was later to the 3 TCs, he forced some attention from Erikur to make Erikur not produce consistently out of all TCs. Has had some a little bit of idle time here. But the farm eco looks very healthy for Erikur here. He is with a decent chunk of gold as well, so it's not at all impossible that Erikur will be the first one clicking Imperial H here. Yeah, AR12 is spending more that what I assume is the Cab Archer switch is going to take its toll on the wood and gold economy as well, so could potentially set back the Imperial Age unless he is preemptively preparing the Cab Archer switch for the Imperial Age here, which could also be the case. Cab Archer's not the worst move either to have some hit and run potential against small groups of enemy pikes. (16 versus 12) should be an easy fight for AR12 to win now. He has the +2/+2 as well as the Knight's actually missing the +2 for Erikur here. But yeah, this is a bad fight for Erikur. He is trying to escape, but will be losing a knight or two here along the way. Also getting housed in the middle of it, but now since the pikes in AR12, we need to back off immediately here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Takes the hill. So worst case, if he has to fight pikes here, he could get some hill damage, but of course he'll just run away and hope for the best. Cav archers not in the numbers necessary just yet. They would be fantastic for raiding potential here. And AR12, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. That's sacrificing 3 or 4 camels if it was, but it also allows to run in and hit the knights here, so... But that was 5 knights down, no 5 camels down, just like that. So that's a loss you don't want to take either. Erikur with a pretty good KD now, 33 to 20. Switching it up like that. This TC will provide some cover fire against the pikes here, as more rangers are being added to extend into that Cav Archer play. Ooh! That's a gutsy forward cast by Erikur, but considering that AR12 only has 16 military now and Erikur has pikes against the camels, could be going up this one actually. Yeah, AR12 running into pikes again, unfortunately. Not the most ideal pathing here. I don't see him stopping this castle easily. Let's look at AR12's eco setup for a moment. He is closer to the Imperial Age in terms of gold and food, and tries to at least delay this castle here, but that's definitely going up. Need to salvage the Cav Archer numbers here and just pull back and hope for the best. 1 monk goes down, 2 monks, 3 monks probably. And army numbers actually equal for the two players now, 11 against 10. But AR12 in return, closer to that Imperial Age click. I'm pretty sure he'll be the first one up. Unless Erikur uses the market, and there we go. That's what he did. So it was floating quite a bit of gold, made use of that to get to the Imperial Age, but they're going to reach the Imperial Age at roughly the same time. Double Siege Workshop for Erikur here. Do you want to ram push? Pike and ram push, maybe? Ballistics on the way for AR12 should be using this army to try and get some raids in, and at the very least idle Erikur a little bit here. But he is Franks. He could drop those cheap castles and be well in a great spot against the Tatars push here. Nah, I don't really feel like becoming famous. I think we'll ban you, my friend. Another forward castle from Erikur. A little bit more ballsy this time around. There are cav archers here to deny that. I think they have the mobility to do so. Pikes, all army out of position, and I didn't see these raids breaking in, so that's obviously really bad news for AR12 here. Going up to the Imperial Age, losing some numbers here. Villager numbers going down. I believe they were more even a moment ago. But a couple of camels should clean this up nicely. Tatars do get heavy camel in the Imperial Age as well, so that makes it a bit more awkward for the Franks player to play his knights accordingly. Goes for the defensive castle instead and bails on the forward one altogether. This gap will need to be plugged for AR12, but he'll reclaim his base as is. Quadruple range production for the cav archers now. I mean, if AR12 can get to full upgrades and heavy cav archers here, and not sacrifice numbers to TC fire, then he has actually a great powerful unit to go for in the Imperial Age. So that's a good choice. I'd say idling this TC, then running in, even though it means losing some numbers along the way here. Defense is in, Cavalier on the way for Erikur. But AR12 is now with the builder lead with 20-8, and he's the one raiding the enemy base now. Forward castles, of course, a point to push from with trebs and some battering rams here as well. I mean, after doing that, that's a good call by Erikur, because with cav archers now on the field, it's much tougher for AR12 to push back rams. He would have to make camels or knights again to deal with this. But cav archer is causing annoyance in Erikur's base as well. Look at 30 idols here now, so the overall villager numbers aren't that uneven after all. Erikur salvages himself here and even traps the cav archers inside. So AR12 will have to make the best of it moving onwards now. Meanwhile, Erikur is in with one stray knight in AR12's base raiding. AR12 with the defensive castle to provide cover fire for his own treb here, and might deal with the first forward castle here. While Erikur is sneakily stealing some of the stones here. Cav archers on the spot to pick off most of the forward villagers. I'm getting worried about the production tab here though. AR12 with eco in the bank, not really spending it, whereas Erikur is going into upgrades, getting handcart and triple stable cavaliers here. And these trebs look like they want to target different... There we go. Going for the same castle here. TC number 4 for AR12 in the north. Going to catch up now, maybe. Let's look at the TCs. There's still only 3 for Erikur, but more stables going up here. And overall villager lead by 20. Slightly behind in numbers, but cav archers alone won't be enough for AR12 here. He's going into heavy camel and he's going to have a nice answer to the cavaliers here. Score's pretty darn even though. It's 103 to 80 kills for Erikur now, so they both have gotten some decent raids in. Populations, the largest difference here is the villager count, and that could be significant in the long run for the economy for Erikur here with the most villagers. Camels, I think heavy camel is still a bit away, but with a surround like this, they still have some damage output. Erikur actually backs off. No Imperial upgrades in for AR12 here, so that could be an issue, but the one forward castle is down, and the other one will go down as well. Now Erikur will have to rely on his cavalry numbers and to try and get some good raids in here. Nice timing on the castle going down though. Now we have heavy camels and cavalry archers here. It's extremely gold heavy combination here, so AR12 will for sure run out of gold before Erikur does here. The main gold almost depleted. Let's look at their scoutings if they know about these neutral resources. AR12 doesn't really see the two neutral golds either, so you'll have to try and find those to be able to sustain this combination. Cavaliers now looping around. That's 30 plus Cavaliers. AR12 expecting some raids to maybe come this way, so he's dropped a castle on the hill here. Oh, but the house foundations aren't built. Oh, yeah. This could be really bad. Now AR12 will have to send all of his camels back, most likely, because there's not really any army left here to deal with this. He tasks the camels back and keeps the cav archers forward for now. But this is going to make for a heavy blow against AR12's economy here. Quadrupled stable production of heavy camels and cav archers. But look at all these idols now for AR12. 37 idols and he's down 40 villagers. Very, very nice and efficient raids for Erikur here. Erikur takes the hill as well. I mean, if he fights Tatars downhill, Tatars won't really get that downhill bonus that they have for their units. So it makes sense for Erikur's cavalier commitment here to camp on the hill to make sure that the Tatars player cannot get any downhill advantage. Populations are kind of worrying though. AR12 down almost 50 villagers. Some halberdiers in the field here, and seems like the cav archer numbers have diminished a little bit as well. A few stray cavaliers appear as well. AR12 will need to react and garrison here as Erikur is dropping outposts to gain some more map vision. I will find the neutral gold, which is huge here to have that continuous gold income. Nice trap from AR12 here to block the pathing of the cavalier here. Will clean those up, and AR12 undoubtedly with the military lead here. But the cavalier flow is scary as well. I'd say they deal handily with small groups of cav archers. They are not heavy cav archers. Understandably so, since AR12 has gone into heavy camel here. These trebs moving out to deal with some nearby production here. Should just be a few hits away as we have a battle limit. Oh! A little bit lucky there as well to save this TC at 50 HP. Scouting on neutral resources will be of essence here though, because Erikur will have continued access to gold. And the overall economy as well, food and gold. Erikur could keep making cavaliers for a long while, but AR12 will struggle shortly for heavy camels here. And with halberdiers in the field, you can't just spam out these heavy camels to deal with the cavaliers either. This is not the prettiest fight for AR12, I'd say. Looks like Erikur has more numbers advantage here and the hard counters to both units in the mix here. AR12 now down to 35 military. Hasn't been raiding for a while either, so Erikur has had a good eco setup at home here. Here comes the defensive castle from AR12 though. That's going to help out, especially against the halves, not allow them to go in and raid, but cavalier raids over here as well, and Erikur taking both neutral golds is just going to have so much gold to spend when AR12 runs out and will be forced to fight with trash units. Only 2 villagers building this defensive castle though. I don't think it's going to go up, unfortunately, and Erikur's position looks strong now. 60 population lead, almost 40 more villagers. KD not that uneven, but with halbs trading in the middle of all this, that's food and wood against food and gold, or wood and gold. So overall better trades for Erikur. Military numbers dwindling for AR12 specifically here, and the eco seems to struggle for AR12. It's going to be a 1-0 for Erikur, and GG. Quick look at the stats here. I'll update the score and we can look at the draft. Exclamation mark draft for the draft as well. I think I linked it. Overall, much stronger eco for Erikur. He did have 4 villagers consistently from the late Castle Age onwards. Uptimes virtually similar here, pretty amazing to see, but a little bit more exploration for Erikur as AR12 was the one starving the most for gold. Maybe I should have gone for the neutral golds earlier. I had some relic gold though, so that could be why he was hesitant to go for the exposed golds outside. He had 2 more relics than Erikur here. But the R maneuvers, in the end, everything falling to Halberdiers turned the events here.